For example, since I want to run heavily on Monday, so this is the cron that I should paste in this bar. This button is changing to green, which means a success. So now let's check whether we already have the newest data into our database or not. One key point of retrieval augmented generation system is data. And in some cases, we always want to get the latest data. For example, if you're building a chatbot for financial reports, of course, we want to get the latest data. It could be annually or also quarterly. What is really discussed is how to automate this process, and this is what I'll cover today. I'll start by showing you a brief overview of the project, how to set up our ETL pipeline. I'll also introduce you to Supabase and Supabase Vector so we can store our Vector embeddings into our database. And then the last most important thing is how to automate all of the process through GitHub Actions. So without further ado, let's get started. This is my small project where I'm building a basic information retrieval to retrieve the most recent and relevant research paper on arXiv, specifically in the topic of retrieval augmented generations or RAG and also LLM. The reason behind it is there's a lot of papers that publish every day. And on the other side, we always want to be up to date with the latest technology, the latest methodology. And that's why creating this item will be beneficial. So as you can see here, we have several research papers we can also click on it. And we can also do a query in here. For example, like query rewriting technique. And we'll get the latest paper talking about query writing technique for RAG. Or we can also search knowledge graph for RAG. And in here we can see this is the latest paper talking about knowledge graph. So this is a short overview of this project, but I'm not going dive deeper into the model performance or the front end in this video. And instead, I'll focus on how we automate the ETL process, how we always update our database with the latest research paper published on arXiv. So I will walk you through my ETL code pipelines, and as usual, all of the necessary code is in the description below. So now let's get started. So this is the final ETL code that I've created, and also I'll walk you through the Python notebook so you'll have a better understanding of what is the output from this step and what is the output from this step. So the first thing is, of course, we will retrieve the data from any sources. We can use Selenium or Beautiful Soup for web scraping, or we can also retrieve data from an API. In this case, I will also use a library, specifically arXiv library. So in here, I have a query which is retrieval augmented generations, and also the max result is 30. Since I want to update my database once a week, that's why I also filter the retrieved document from arXiv to only this week papers. So I will make sure that what I insert to my database is the recent paper only published in this week. This is the example of the retrieved documents. And the next thing is to pre-processing the data that we have. So in this case, I'm using LLM, but in your cases, if you want to do it using regex or anything that you want to do, just do it. So the first thing is I'm using LLM to extract 3 key points from an abstract of the paper. The first one is the problem, the solution, and also the result. And the second thing that I did is I'm using PGE embedding to embed the text. This will be very beneficial since we want to do a semantic search as what I've shown you before. I'm leveraging output parser from LangChain, specifically JSON output parser here. And for the model, I'm using Llama 3. So this is the class that we need for the JSON output parser. Basically, we're inputting like what stuff that you want to extract. And here is the problems, and this is one of the executions. So this is one of the results. The second thing is to embed the text. In here, I'm using PGE alerts embeddings. And this one is one of the results of the embedded text. And the next step is to combine all of the process. In here, I also did a simple preprocessing, like adding some keys and values to the result dictionary, like the author, the URL, the embeddings, the title, and the publish list. And this is the final result that we want to insert to our database. So in here, we have the problem, solution, the result, the author, the URL, and many more. The next thing is to insert the data into the database. Basically, in here, you can use any database that you're familiar, but now I'm using Supabase. If you're new to Supabase, then you will need to create your account first. But since I already have my account, so I'll show you how to create your table. So in here, the first thing that you need to do is to activate the Vector extension since we want to store the Vector type of data to our table. Run this. And the next thing is we want to create our table. In here, I name it as resource paper, and we have several column names like the ID, which is the primary key, the title, which I want this to be unique, and other else. So run this. Okay, so if we move to the table editor, we can see we have new table, resource papers, which is an empty table. Once we have already created our table, so now let's insert our data into the table. So in here, you'll need the Supabase URL and the Supabase key. You can get this through go to project settings and also API. So you can get the URL from here. You can copy it and save the environment variables and also this one. So it could run, it's success, and we can check to our database. Okay, so now we have our database in here. So our pipeline is working right now. Now let's talk about how to set up our GitHub Actions so we can run it using a scheduler in GitHub. So the first thing that we need to do, I have this stab.txt, which you can also follow it. The first one is to create .github folder. So in here, you can create GitHub. And then the second one is to create workflows folder inside of this folder. So, hey, the third one is to create actions.yaml. Okay, this one. And then in here, we could paste this and I will also explain this to you. So the first line in here is the name. Actually, you could name it whatever you want, but since this is the ETL process for my project, so I will name it ETL for WhatsApp project. And on means when you want to run this process, if you have workflow dispatch, you will also see a button where you can click at that time at run. And then the push, which means if you post this into your GitHub, then this process will run. And jobs in here is a step-by-step of what kind of process you want to run using the GitHub Actions. Or the first step is to check out the repo content and set up the Python. In this Python version is 3.9, but you can install other Python version. And the next step is to install the Python package. So to run the ETL process, usually you will need a package there. And in here, since my folder structure of the requirements.txt files and ETL applies in this folder, which is in the ETL folder, so what I need to cd ETL, which means I want to move to this ETL folder first, and then I do pip install and also upgrade the pip and then do install from the requirements. In case your requirements.txt file and also your ETL.py file is not in this folder, which is in the root folder, then you will need to move to this folder. So the next step is to run the Python script. Since we need the environment variable, instead of hard code our environment variables or our secret in the Python script, the best solution for it is to save our secret in GitHub. So I'll also share to you how to set up your environment variable in GitHub later. And here I have three secrets, which is the Supabase URL, the Supabase key, and a Grok API key. And actually could use any secret in here that you need. And in here, the same process which I need to move to the ETL folder first, and then I run this ETL. Okay, so this is the first step, and I will show you how it works. Okay, so now let's move to our GitHub. To check your actions, you can go to this action steps. But before that, we need to save our environment variables in this GitHub repo. So the first thing that you need to do is to go to settings and then move to secrets and variables and go to actions. And in here, since I have already saved my secrets area, I will use it. But if you need to create your own, then to click this new repository secret. In here, you can type your name of the secret, for example, Supabase URL And then this is the secret or the API key that you have, and click Add Secret. So let's move to Actions. Since if you still remember, in here, I already set it to while I post this to my GitHub so it will run, and that's why you will see this process is working. So you can click in here to see the step-by-step process what's working right now. Okay, so it's installing the Python package. It'll look sometime depends on the package that you have and the complexity of your program. So right now is running the Python script. Okay, so as you can see, this button is changing to green, which means a success. So now let's check whether we already have the newest data into our database or not. We can go here, and as you can see here. So we have a lot of new data in here based on what we have run in this GitHub. So this is the first thing that we should understand, and I hope this is easy to understand too. So let's move to the next step. So steps number 6 is optional. In case you need to save your file in GitHub, then you will need to do a git push. Maybe you are asking me like, why do we need this? And in my experience, I need this usually to save my backup data and also to logging. The command that you need to add to the actions YAML is this one, like this. Last but not least, this is the most important one, which is the add the scheduler. Of course, the reason why we want to use GitHub Actions because we want to run this Python script without manual clicking. We'll need a scheduler and we will use a cron. But before I paste this into the Actions YAML, maybe you're asking me, where do I know or where do I understand what kind of cron that I should paste to my actions like YAML? So this is one of the best resources to understand about cron, and I highly recommend you to also visit this, which name is cron.guru. For example, since I want to run every week on Monday, so this is the cron that I should paste in this bar. By adding a scheduler, right now my Python script will be run every Monday. So that's it, how to set up your ETL pipeline using GitHub Actions, and I hope this is useful for you guys. Bye-bye.